is Dr. Ivan and Daniel Lynn. We all are on air. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes, dear viewers of NPF and the extended network of scientific fraternity across the globe. It's indeed pleasure and a privilege for me to bring two illustrative carriers today to our studio. One is a very familiar name in US media, Daniel Lynn, and she is the creator and host of nationally syndicated radio talk program, Daniel Lynn Show, The Art of Living and Science of Life. Daniel Lynn is a certified nutritionist renowned for hosting various talk shows globally. Her contribution to soya industry is remarkably known to all over the world. She is a proponent of yoga, organic food, and consciousness world over through her talk shows. She understands how the body mechanism works and helps the people to get recovery through offering different supplements. Her talk shows are very well heard of, and she is going to moderate the talk show today. She will be questioning to Dr. Ivan Oswald. Only one line I will speak more for Daniel, that Daniel has been at the forefront of the shift to the holistic living for decades, and she is still leading the way in United States, in North America, and across the globe. It's my ultimate pleasure and privilege to welcome Daniel Lynn in our today's show. I have another faculty, Dr. Ivan Oswald from Niagara Falls, Ontario. So we are having one from Utah, US, and second from Niagara Falls, Ontario. And this is me here facilitating both of them here at St. John's, Newfoundland. Dr. Ivan has PhD in clinical hypnosis. She also commands very high reputation in the field of hypnosis. Her talk shows are viewed globally. She has her own YouTube channel. She has been a keynote speaker to many such shows, and we are grateful to her that she provided us an opportunity to interview her. Dr. Ivan is a renowned writer on the subject of behavioral technology. She is the recipient of the award in the segment of clinical hypnosis. Her innovative, exciting, and fun-driven thoughts are well appreciated by her followers. So not wasting your time any further, dear viewers, today I request both of them to take the show forward. And first I would request first I would request Daniel Lynn to take over the proceedings and to ask the questions to Ivan Oswald.
Thank you, Dr. Pranav.
Thank you so much. Happy to be here. I had the absolute privilege of meeting Dr. Pranav and moving forward with this whole broadcast, which is unusual around the world for this kind of knowledge, excuse me, to come together. And then when Dr. Ivan was on my program, we had a delightful time, and you're really in process right now to hear some valuable information that could be life-changing for you and for everyone that you're working with around the world, because she has a unique combination. When you look at NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, and hypnosis together,
Yes.
it's a very unusual combination. So you and I had such a wonderful time, so much fun, and I couldn't wait to get here today. So happy to be with you.
I'm happy to be with you, Danielle. Thank you so much. And thank you, NPAF, for sponsoring this, and Dr. Pranav.
We were very lucky that he brought us together, and now we're talking to you around the world. I guess we want to start out with understanding you can flip out about it, you can get negative about it. And but these are the challenges that we're facing. We're facing technology, we're facing disruption, we're
Yes.
facing times where the immediate is to go well and start pointing fingers and getting upset. And that's part of your work. I mean, I know that you talked about on the show too, is the act of, the simple act of learning, like to point, and the impact that that had in the development of the prefrontal cortex. Talk about that from that perspective.
It's great because what happens is, over the last 200,000 years, and that's a very short time in the broader scheme of things, we've only been speaking for 65,000 years. So the communication skills of our group is phenomenal. And there are not many groups that actually have mirror neurons, which means that when you meet someone, you would match their language, their body language. So saying, hello, my name is Dr. Yvonne, doesn't make me look very friendly. What happens is when you meet someone, to make them like you immediately, you actually flick your eyebrows. You actually say, hello, I'm Dr. Yvonne. And your head is to one side so that you're saying, I'm bowing to you. And then as many teeth as you can. And I know people say it's cultural to actually have no eye contact and show no teeth. It's really important that you do have eye contact, that you do use your eyebrows, and you do show your teeth, because that very act opens up your pupils and allows the other person to feel good endorphins and realize you're a friend.
Yeah, I think in the early days of NLP, when we were in Hollywood, when it started around, and people started learning and mirroring. So what you're meaning by mirroring also, and when you're with someone, is if they cross their arms, you might cross their arms. If your arms.
You'd actually do a little different, because crossing your arms is like
right.
You may just do a matching thing, just cross your hands like this.
So you'd be crossing as they've crossed.
You're still doing the same action, and then as you talk into them, as you open your hands, they will also open their hand too, and you'll know that you've got rapport then. All the social group animals actually have this mirroring effect. The dolphins have it, elephants have it, monkeys have it, parrots do actually. If you go up to a parrot and do this, you'll see an amazing flush come in the parrot's cheeks, and it gets really excited. It's like, oh, someone like me, someone like me. So it's way of recognizing. You have 0.012 of a second to make someone like you when they first meet you.
So I was walking at my gym, and they have one of the circular walks, and I studied the people that were in front of me, and there were two women walking, and they would start out in rhythm. One would speak, the rhythm would break, they'd stop, and it took about maybe 20 seconds, and their arms would start going in the same direction at the same time. And then they'd speak again, and it would, it would change. So it's fascinating because it's all happening at a subconscious level. Is that correct?
Yes, it is. And it's interesting if you have a big audience. I've had, I was teaching at the Harvard Medical School, and there were 600 people in the audience. And one lady here on my left just did a movement like this. And a woman at the back of the room who couldn't see her, 2 seconds later did the same movement. It's almost like an unconscious little dance that's going on. It's amazing.
So this goes back to your work and really talking about, and if you just joined in, we're talking with Dr. Yvonne, formerly Dr. Yvonne Oswald, and the book is Every Word Has Power. It goes back to the idea that if we're socially responsible in the world right now, then what we're mirroring, and I think the news, and I'm in the media for 3 and plus decades, we have a great responsibility, and it's very difficult, as I said earlier, that we seem to go to the water fountain with the negative. Did you hear? Oh my gosh.
Yes.
So we're in a time now where what the work you're doing worldwide is so significant. How does it work for the average person? Like, we have maybe thousands of listeners around the globe in all different countries, as you said. I know there's a lot of people from India, and I was in India, and you'll notice when you're in India, people talk to you. And they do the head thing, and you're talking. And I asked someone once, why do you do that? And it's so happy. And he said, well, because my father did that.
Yes, exactly.
And so everybody has a different way, but how do we work within our own minds to shift it from this 85% negative base to 85% positive base? What's the tool that we can take home with?
Well, one of the easiest things to do is actually change your physiology. So I usually work when I'm working with a class. If you literally put your back straight and take a deep breath so that your diaphragm actually comes down. When we're under stress, we hold the diaphragm up, we hold our tongue on the roof of our mouth. If you can consciously put the tongue on the bottom of the mouth and take a deep breath, that tells the unconscious mind that the danger's over. So people don't even realize they're doing it. They say, oh my gosh, yeah, my tongue is on the roof of my mouth, which means you're telling the unconscious mind, danger, danger. So just physiologically, back straight, tongue on the bottom of the mouth, and diaphragm released. Also, to get centered, you have your Tandien, which is 3 fingers below your belly button. And if you put a nice little symbol there, like a little tiger or a diamond, and consciously just think of that for 1 second, put your chin up. The expression keep your chin up, remember, actually makes you go to the prefrontal cortex. It takes you to a different part of it. You know, the expression keep your chin up means stay cheerful. Literally moving your chin up just an inch means that you're actually in the prefrontal cortex. And then if you literally become aware of what's on the right and the left, so I can see the door and I can see a door over here. What happens then is you're actually living in the prefrontal cortex. You're in your happy brain. And it's actually impossible to feel a negative emotion. It's amazing.
Just because of the physical and the physiology of the human body. See, this is the thing. Again, you know, I go back to India. I spend time there, and Ayurveda is very important, as well as the things we're going to talk about in a little while about vegetarian lifestyle and why that's important for the brain. But, you know, obviously, you know, the sciences and the art, my program is called The Art of Living and Science of Life. These are thousands, this knowledge has been thousands of years in the making and understanding. And I know that there are a lot of companies that are from the pharmaceutical industry today, and we're seeing mergers between pharma and Nutra, which is a very important aspect of this conversation, especially with Dr. Pranav's background. And the goal isn't just to walk around like happy, 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 but there's so many people that are not experiencing love or health or wealth, or even, as I say, that happiness. What holds us back from that?
I believe there are 2 things. I believe all therapy is a parts integration. When you're 3 or 4 years old, mom says, you know, don't take that toy away from your sister. You made her cry. You know, you can't get everything you want. All these little things that we say to our kids, but unconsciously. So the child grows up with a belief that they're not good enough, they're not deserving. I always say when I'm teaching, I teach hypnosis and NLP certification. I always say, if you don't know where to go to self-worth, because that's what it's all about. So what happens is, as you grow up with these limited decisions and beliefs. And we have 2 things that hold us back. Negative emotions, simple as a dimple. If you go to YouTube and find Yvonne Oswald Mind Magic, that was the other thing I was nominated for the award for. That clears a negative emotion in like less than a minute. So if you're like at the water fountain telling all your friends about how life isn't great and that woman is awful, what you'll do is you'll simply do the Mind Magic, clear the emotion, 2 minutes later, it's gone. And that's the whole point. The other thing is the limiting decisions. And the only way we know there's a limiting decision or belief in play is something's not working in your life. So if you want to be rich and you're not rich, you've got a limiting decision in play. If you want to be healthy and you're not healthy, then you've made a limited decision somewhere along the line. Let your immune system go down. And even genetic things can be changed by simply changing the belief around them. So it's our observation. It's our perceptions of things that we need to change.
I'll give you an example. I have another company that I work with and expand around the world and work with teams of people. And I was due to visit one of the marketplaces, and the woman I was going to visit got like really sick. She got so sick, she started getting headaches, and it was an interesting dynamic. And it looked like from the outside world, oh, you better get to a doctor. You better find out what's wrong. And the more we processed together, the more she realized that there was so much fear coming up, had nothing to do with me coming up there. It had to do with everything it was pushing in her life. And this is part of working with your book, Every Word Has Power. Explain how that benefits, whether it's medical doctors listening in or the average person.
Sorry.
I like when I duplicate. I'm duplicating myself.
Sorry.
Yeah, as I said, listen, life has changes, and if you can't swing with them,
It is what it is.
you're not gonna have a good time.
It is
And
what it is.
we're global. I mean, this is crazy that we could get up. I got up this morning. It was early. I know it's different time zones, but you get up in the world. Somebody parked in my parking space at 5 o'clock in the morning. It's like this. So this is it. People have negative aspects and responses, but your book, talk about how it can benefit and what's the outcome from using this book in particular.
Well, the interesting thing is, once you start changing your language and once you start actually realizing that your unconscious mind is a servo mechanism, it's a machine, it's a quantum internet. The internet was invented by us, so therefore it has to replicate our mind. When you finally realize that if you completely clear the keywords out of your language that are not beneficial, the low energy words, and those low energy words actually lower your immune system. And the interesting thing was, I did it so well that I actually was giving a keynote speech one day, and I said, so the word not good. And I was like, oh, the word not good. And I said, does anybody know what the word not good is? And someone said bad. I'm like, that one. I hadn't even got it in my head anymore. I actually had to write it in front of my eyes because and also it also didn't have any emotional weight with it, because of the changes. So I found that people actually start living in the prefrontal cortex more when you use those high energy words. It literally takes you up into your analytical brain. And suddenly what you'll find is you get less depressed, you accept things more easily. You're basically going into trance, very simply, and you just walk through life, it is what it is.
So in the book, if you're translating that, and when you're with a practitioner like you, and there are NLP practitioners all over the world, you do sessions, you do individuals, you work with thousands of persons.
Yeah.
In the book, when you go from beginning to end, are the tools all built in so that we can have that transition and know? Because you say go into trance, that might not mean something relevant for somebody that's never done that.
Right.
So
and you're in and out of trance every 20 seconds. You're actually, funnily enough, in and out of hypnosis every 20 seconds. When you're watching TV, when you're driving, when you're thinking of something or being creative, you're actually in a state of hypnosis, in the state of alpha. And what's interesting is you don't even know what you're saying. So I always, during my trainings, we have the switch game. You get 20 poker chips, and if anybody says, oh, that's terrible, someone says switch, you have to give up a poker chip, and then you say that's not such a good thing. So you'll actually learn to replace it as it comes out of your mouth. And people actually say, what did I just say? They have no idea. They're not conscious of what's coming out of the lips. And so when I'm training people to be hypnotherapists or NLP practitioners, you need to know what you're saying. With your client, you have to have a conscious awareness of what's coming out of your mouth. And it makes you very aware of what the people in the supermarket and what they're saying to the kids. It's like,
and these issues are happening worldwide. Folks, that for those of you that watch the news or listen to even my show, you'll by the way, you'll find it at daniellelin.com. You can see my name in the background. Very important, that LIN, and you'll be able to find Dr. Yvonne's interview that we did there. So please visit. It's a global conversation. It's been on for over 33 years now, with everyone in the planet, the brightest minds. But part of this is the responsibility I talked about earlier. Is people like you going around the world. There's not enough where we have these conversations. We listen to the TV and then we repeat, duplicate. So you get engaged in the conversation, and sometimes it's difficult. Let's talk about some pragmatics for the doctors out there that are addressing people who are struggling with weight and eating. Give a perspective on that.
Well, the same way as I believe we need to clear our minds, we need to clear our energy and replace it with high energy thoughts and high energy words. You also need to cleanse your body too. Every major religion has cleansing as part of its rituals. Hinduism, Monday is Shiva's day, so there's a lot of fasting goes on Mondays. You have Lent, you have Passover, Ramadan. All of the major religions have a very sensible up to 40-day time when we actually allow our bodies to balance and clear out the yeast, and you don't have that yeast. And what happens, unfortunately, is that if we ignore that long enough, then we're going to get toxic, the body's going to go acidic, as you know. And of course the vegetarian lifestyle lends itself to cleansing the body and boosting the immune system. And I know you know a lot more about that than me because you've been a vegetarian most of your life, right?
Yes, and I know that meditation is also part of what you
Mm-hmm.
teach and explain. And my experience with being a vegetarian, and I've done everything, I've done all levels from food combining to whether it's gluten
Yeah.
free. So, I'm constantly over the years been moving it around to see
Yeah.
what really works. It's not just about becoming a vegetarian and just eating some vegetables. It really is a science. I think Ayurveda addresses it probably the best in the world if you
Yeah.
want to adapt it as a lifestyle. But I found even when I was in deep retreats and meditations, like even eating a lot of onions and garlic were prohibitive at the retreat sites, which because they said it kept the mind so busy. And of
No.
course, we use those all the time. But, I know we'll spend some time if you use the tools where someone wants to change their diet or wants to lose weight or stop smoking.
Yeah.
You say you can change a negative thought in 1 minute.
Yeah.
Is it gone forever? And you use these tools, and how would it help somebody losing weight?
What's fabulous is I put together a 4-hour breakthrough blueprint. I was in Switzerland last February, and the lady who got me out there said, "You've got 3 breakthrough sessions tomorrow." I said, "I can't do 3 breakthrough sessions in a day. Like, there's no way." And she said, "Yes, you can." She said, "First one's at 8 o'clock." She said, "You've got 3 3-hour sessions." I was like, wow. So I literally took everything out that wasn't absolutely essential, and I found I got phenomenal results. So what I've done is I've combined the NLP hypnosis and my own techniques, which are totally new and pioneering. I know they are. What happens is that I can clear anything in 4 hours, literally PTSD, depression, whatever it is, and it's permanent. And the beauty of it is that, yes, you're going to get other stuff coming up 3 or 4 days later. It will be the unconscious mind finding new files. I always imagine it like a file folder with some virus documents in it. And as
Hmm.
long as I clear all the documents out of the virus file folder, then it won't come back. If there's another document we didn't address, 3 or 4 days later, emotions will come up. And that's a simple messaging from your unconscious mind to say, we need to talk. There's something else here.
So
So
if
it's,
this subconscious mind you mentioned, I'm going to grab that real quick, is like a quantum internet. Like, why is that understanding important?
well, it's really important because the issue is that it's sitting there quite happily, just tootling along, helping you live, doing your body, etc. And if you ignore it, your body, your physical body, it's going to let you know emotionally first of all, and then physically. If you literally use all those low energy words and think in low energy emotions, it literally goes on high alert. So a child can be in a room and then are arguing, and suddenly loud noise becomes a high alert. What people don't realize is that the unconscious mind is going to stay on high alert for something like sexual abuse or any kind of abuse. The unconscious mind is going to be on high alert your whole life unless you actually say it's okay. The episode is complete. We're no longer in danger. We're done. And that's a simple answer. Is that the only reason we remember those old events that keep replaying on our head is they come back again and again because they're not complete. The unconscious mind is saying, do I still need this safety device in process, or can we let it go now?
So in the high, give 3 high energy words, 3 low energy words.
Okay, so I'll do the low energy word first because then you'll end up feeling good afterwards. So a low energy word is, no problem, not
Like
bad.
we said. Hmm.
Yeah, and of course the unconscious mind doesn't hear the not. It only hears the bad. It only hears the actual keyword, right? Difficult. You mentioned difficult before, and I was like, I didn't want to
Hmm.
say anything.
Yeah.
So you would replace them with quite good, or you're welcome, or love, happiness, joy. Excitement to me is the hotline to God. If you can get excited, I always believe that the negative emotions and limiting beliefs are like little clouds above your head, and they're stopping the sunlight coming in. Think of God as like the sun, like, I'm happy to give you everything. And what we do when we clear those negative emotions and limiting beliefs, we're suddenly standing in the light. And once you're standing in the light, then you go into that state of coherence and one with the universe, that feeling that all's right with the world. If there's something really life-threatening there, then the unconscious mind is going to just fold its arms and say, ain't happening, right?
Hmm.
So someone who comes to me for pain relief, I will always make them do a liver cleanse first, a gallbladder and liver cleanse. The Hulda clot one is the best, just for a
Hmm.
quick fix. And it's also great for releasing weight, by the way, 3 pounds in like a day. And of course, once you release the liver, once you let the liver and the body sort itself out, then the pain is really easy to let go. If the body is compromised, the unconscious mind won't work with you.
And it's interesting, you mentioned the organs, the liver or the kidneys, and in Chinese medicine, and I know you know this, where you understand you store your emotions in particular
Yeah.
parts of your body. So if you're dealing with the liver, anger, kidneys, fear, I mean, we can go through another whole conversation about that.
Yeah.
So if the most decisions are not really based on logic, how do we make them?
We make them on emotions. We make them. It's been proven that if three people go for an interview and they've all got the same qualifications, the one who's most enthusiastic will get the job. It's that likability factor. It's that ability to make yourself liked. It's that ability to communicate well. I was working at a health facility, and there were two ladies who were choosing all the people to work there. They employed about, oh gosh, there must have been about 50 or 60 people employed. And what they'd done the interviews, and they'd interviewed people and chosen people exactly like themselves. Order traditional, very analytical, very accountant based. And that was why the community wasn't working, because on a reception desk, you need someone who's very visual kinesthetic. When someone's going into an interview with someone, you need someone who's balanced, and you need someone who knows their stuff. And of course, they'd chosen the whole faculty on the basis of just like them. And if they'd had a few enthusiastic people, they may well have been gone over. And I had to point out that they had to really have a variation of people's rep systems, representational systems, to make sure that the business worked well.
You use the term, if you will, magic element. So
Yes.
let's talk about that. What is that, and why is that needed to get the kind of results you want if it's a positive outcome?
Exactly. That magic element is excitement. And the way we get excitement is by planning the future. So what happens is typically when we're not moving forward in life, it's very much like stage fright. When you get stage fright, you're standing on at the wings of the stage, waiting to go on, thinking, oh my gosh, what are people thinking of me? And then of course you get on the stage and you're standing there like this, and people give you just the reaction you expect. If you go and stand in front of the stage in a class, for instance, and everybody goes, whoa, that was an amazing performance, that was great. You take someone to the successful completion of the event, and suddenly there's no stage fright there anymore, because you've put it in a different context. Same with excitement. When you can get excited about something, you're anticipating something good happening. Typically, we live in the past, we live in the present. We don't typically live in the future. And I invented a personal freedom matrix, which is on YouTube too, to actually take you out to the future, have a happy ending, because anxiety is the new 21st century thing that's happening. It was depression in the last century. This century it's anxiety, because we overcompensate, we over demand of ourselves. And if you take your mind out to the future, have the happy ending, and then breathe that future back into the body, so that you actually lock it in your heart, you actually can't have anxiety. It's amazing.
So let's look at the English language for a minute. How many words are really the charged words, the emotional words? Like, is there a percentage where you say this is really a lot of emotional stuff?
Yes, I did a whole five months work on literally every night. I was looking at keywords for hours and hours, just looking up keywords on the internet and see what responded back. And of course, the unconscious mind is exactly like the internet. If you type in fairies, it's going to give you 1 million sites on fairies. Right? And there are over 12 billion sites on health. I looked it up last night. And health comes from the word hail, which comes from the word holy, which means connected to God. So the fact that you're healthy means you're fully connected and going in the right direction. So it's very important that we actually get the whole body, mind, spirit in synchronization, as you know.
Obviously the book, The Law of Attraction, came out, The Secret, and now and Dr. Masaru Emoto, he was on our program years ago. He was in that, and let's talk about the correlation to these words and these emotions and what we finally understood, even in the messages from water,
Right.
and how that relates to your work.
Yes, and my book is published by the Secret Publishers, Beyond Words.
Mm.
Cindy said, I wish someone would write a book about the power of words and how to get the law of attraction going, not just, what it is, but how we make it work. And literally, I phoned her office and she gave me a contract straight away. And the reason I called her was I asked my assistant, I found the Dr. Emoto's messages from water, and I said, wow, his work is just like mine, focusing on the high energy words, focusing on, using those words, writing the words on a glass of water and then letting the word itself soak in, because you have that positive intent. And it turned out that Dr. Emoto's book was published by Beyond Words. So
It's a great publishing company.
Oh,
They
amazing.
do, and this is the thing about even publishing. We've seen a real change in what's coming out in books. And years ago when I started, you couldn't get a doctor on my program because it was the association of the alternative or the integrative. Now it's everywhere, and so I think just even those kinds of words, we're integrating, it's complementary,
Yes.
transformation. I remember the first time I heard the word mantra on the news,
Yeah.
and I was thinking, it was like, I think even the New York Times had published it, and I thought, wow, we're changing.
Yes.
And I think you mentioned also the switch buddy in relationship and correlation. So with your children or your business partners or the company you're working with, let's talk about the effect of that again.
Well, it's interesting. If you ask someone who's a close friend to be your switch buddy and say, every time you hear me say a low energy word, say switch and we're going to change it. It's amazing how fast you could, 3 days and you'll be very aware of what you're saying. With your kids, you don't need to do that, because if you say, let's both do it, the kids will soon not be happy about it. What you say is, I would like to learn to speak positively. Could you catch me every time, every time I say a low energy word? And they'll be saying, switch mom, switch mom, switch mom. You'll be amazed how many times you use low energy words. And what happens is they learn it because they're teaching you. And it's really, really useful. It really makes a huge difference.
And you said before about it's very common in certain
Sorry.
countries. Yeah,
You
it's
literally
over.
don't know what you're saying. That's the bottom line is, or top line, is that you're not even aware of what's coming out of your mouth.
Yeah, constantly. And as you said about it's no problem. There are certain countries where they say, no worries, mate.
I know.
No problem. And
Yeah.
and when I arrived in certain countries, I can hear things being said, and it's so intriguing to me. For all the viewers and the people in the world, what can we do right now to increase success for those people?
Ideally, you want them to get a switch buddy and actually get them to start speaking positively to themselves. Also, you can leave little notes around the house, which is really useful. I had a class a couple of months ago, and I said to one of the ladies, right, I said, from today, you're going to write down, you are beautiful, I love you, and you're going to stick it on your bathroom mirror. And she immediately wrote it down and wrote it on our bathroom mirror, because I have 8 people staying here at my healing house for trainings. And I walked in the bathroom and went, you're beautiful, I love you. I thought, that's really nice. And it literally only takes a few days. The first time you read it, you think, I'm not. Then the second day, it's like, maybe. By the time you've read it like 4 or 5 times and it's become unconscious, you actually start to feel beautiful. So your little notes all around the house is great. And also when you're going in the supermarket, make sure that you choose lots of different colors of fruits and vegetables, because it's the different colors that actually make up the vitamins and nutrients. So, instead of saying to the kids, look for healthy fruits and vegetables, if you say find 5 colors of green today, or 5 different fruits and vegetables we've never had before, and take them home and find recipes on how to cook them, they're going to be a lot more invested in eating something that's interesting. The unconscious mind is programmed to go for things that are unusual, interesting, because it may or may not be a threat. So it's programmed to actually go for something that's out of the ordinary.
When you look at that idea of people shifting into a vegetarian diet, which I can't say that that's for everyone. It's trending. If you Google and you put it in, you'll see I don't know how many millions of bits of information.
Yeah.
But it does make a point. What you're talking about is if we're looking at vibration in foods and we're looking at spectrums, and you look at it, just a meat-based diet, it's a pretty limited color. So it'd be like walking around and everyone with one color in the world. The diversity is really a part of the essential global mix that gives us this view and perspective. So it's good that you point that out. And you mentioned also that you do retreats and,
Yeah.
you know, that you do them around the world, but you also have a location. If for somebody that wants to find out how to find you.
I am in Niagara Falls, Ontario. We can go across to Buffalo and pick you up from there, or you can come into Toronto. And I teach 4-day trainings, 10-day trainings, or 8-day trainings. I teach masters, NLP and hypnosis, and the 4-day practitioner. And you can reach me at globalwelcome.com, GLOBAL welcome.com, and go and have a look at the schedule. It's I update it fairly frequently because if I get a number of people saying, "Can we do a training?" I'll put a training on.
Yeah, when we were on the radio, I got very excited about it because you were saying that, you know, a group of 8, that's almost like a family could come and change their lives.
Oh, it's amazing when the same family members come. What a difference to the whole family dynamic! It really changes everything. It's magic. Changes the
Yeah.
programming too.
And again, I'll, you know, just say that the interview that we did together was so fantastic
Yeah.
and so inspiring, but also very grounded. So for you that didn't hear us in the beginning, Dr. Yvonne is with us. Every Word Has Power is her book, and you can hear the most spectacular interview besides this one, of course. You can go to daniellelynn.com. You can see how my name is spelled right over there. I've hosted this program for 3 decades, over 3 decades. We launched Lifestyle Talk, and back then there was nothing. We weren't talking about lifestyle. And
Mm-hmm.
for everybody that's here that's participating in life, in whether you're in the pharmaceutical industry or whether you're coming in from a nutrition end or nutraceutical end, your work, you know, when I play it out in the world of all the people I've interviewed and I look at the work, the simplicity of your work
Yes.
may be overlooked in some ways. If you don't know about the power of neurolinguistic programming and NLP, someone might say, I don't know that much about hypnosis, but it seems kind of weird to me.
Yeah.
What's the real difference in the power and then the combining of how you've put them together?
Right. The NLP is fabulous. What I do in my 4-hour breakthrough session, I use quantum linguistics to unwind the person's model of the world because, as I always say, as long as the client's talking, there's nothing working, there's nothing changing, as long as they're telling you their story. So I get them to send me the story up front. I get 3 or 4 pages of everything that's not working in their life, get them sitting down, we release all the old stuff from the past, and then I use hypnosis at the end because 20 minutes hypnosis is equal to 4 hours sleep, which is magic. And the normal state of hypnosis is alpha, which is, you know, just general, that beautiful place where you're just thinking nice thoughts. Eventually, people go into theta, and theta is the deep healing place, which is where we really want them to go. And people think that hypnosis is like this, and that's called sleep. So sleep is not useful because it's not actually setting the bridge up between the conscious and unconscious mind again. And we're releasing the filter. What happens at 7 years old after the imprinting stage is that a filter starts to come in. So you could say to your child, a 5-year-old, I saw a spaceship yesterday. And the 5-year-old will go, really? Can I see one too? You say to a 7-year-old, I say, you know, I saw a spaceship yesterday. And the 7-year-old will go, been watching too much TV, Mom. Right? Filter comes in, and then the more we're instructed, the more our parents tell us not to do something, the stronger the filter gets, and it actually decreases our results. Children believe they can have everything, be anything, do anything, and it's true. And it's as adults, we need to start to train them that it is possible, and we just have to take certain steps to get there. There's no such thing as failure. There's just feedback. It simply means you have not enough information. You know, you wouldn't say to a kid who was trying to walk, oh my gosh, look how many times you failed. You say, oh, great, you're doing great. Just a little more this and a little more that. Even after they walk and they'll fall down, you just say, okay, let's get up. And we need to approach people's lives with the same idea that if I'm not doing something correctly, it simply means I don't know enough about it or haven't got enough information. It's a matter of fact, simple.
Yeah, this is the change in the corporate arena. If you look at what's been published and the trainings when you go into the corporate world,
Yeah.
even through HR, you look and see that there was a time for a long while where it was control.
Yeah.
I'm the boss
Yeah.
and you are the employee and you listen to what we have to say or we're going to fire you. So it was control by power.
Yeah.
And now there seems to be a greater movement towards, well, wait a minute, why don't we help develop other people into leaders? Why don't we don't have to worry about me losing my job?
Hmm.
How do you bring your work into the corporate world where someone, who's running a company says, wait a minute, I'm going to change the culture of
Hmm.
what we're doing and the outcome?
Right.
How do they
I
incorporate
used
the NLP?
I usually do a 1-day training or 3-day training with the NLP, teach them about communication style. They take their test to find out what style they use. A lady actually got me into India in Chennai. She was actually building a mall. And she said, my 35 guys who are working for me don't get on. And I went in there for a week and they were absolutely surprised that the accountant and the builder uh, couldn't get on because the builder couldn't understand why the accountant needed this information, and I've not got time to do that. And then suddenly it was like, oh, that's why you do it. We went on to clear negative emotions and limiting beliefs. We went on to goal setting, motivation strategies, and it was a phenomenal week. They literally, a few of them have kept in touch with me since saying, this is amazing, it works. You
Yeah,
know,
the simplicity of it.
yeah.
So let's imagine for a minute that everybody listening, all of and viewing, have said, let's make an agreement.
Hmm.
Let's do something wonderful. We watch this, but let's walk away and
Yeah,
let's implement. If you implemented a global agreement, what
yeah.
would that look like for you?
It
And
would look
explaining
like
it.
It would look like Buddhism. It would look like Christianity. It would look like Hinduism. It basically, Catholicism, the whole thing, it literally, it is treat others kindly, realize that, respect someone else's model of the world. And literally, if you look at any major religion and look at the basic concepts, the basic precepts, you'll find that they're very much the same. And it's only us who have put extra things on them, that the little rules and constrictions around them. What will happen is, once you start thinking that this person is just like me, and the interesting thing is, Carl Jung said that you can only perceive what you have inside. So if you perceive someone as beautiful, that means you're thinking of yourself as beautiful. When you see someone and you think, ooh, angry, whatever, you need to look at yourself and think, I've obviously not dealt with that issue yet. It's like
Mm.
in a class of like 20 or however many, I'll look around and think, who do I like and who do I not like? Because the ones I don't like are the ones I need to actually work with so that I can release that in me. There was a wonderful man in Hawaii who went into a prison, and he actually started to literally went in and just got the prison records. It was a really not good prison. Everywhere was very violent, and he sat there and opened the records of these people, and literally forgave himself for what they did. And within 6 months, the prison was empty because everybody had turned out nice. So your thoughts go out on a very deep level. Even when you're thinking not nice thoughts at people, you're sending them unkind thoughts. So if
Mhm.
you're concerned about someone, rather than thinking, oh my gosh, I hope they don't have a car crash today, blah, 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 what you do is you put them in the top right-hand corner of your imagination, because this is visual construct. Throw a beautiful white light around them, see them there with their guide or angel, and push them into the light. Take a breath, push them into the light. If you do that 3 times, you're doing far more good to them than if you're thinking about them in negative terms.
Why is the word love so difficult when you get into the corporate arena? If you go and you say, I just love, we're going to train on love today.
Yeah,
It's kind of like when I used to talk about in the beginning alternative or integrative medicine, as I
yeah,
mentioned. You bring that word love in.
yeah.
Let's talk about the buzz around that.
Well, the interesting thing is, I mean, I was brought up in England when nobody ever said, I love you. Nobody ever
Mhm.
hugged. So, of course, I
Ah,
got here in Toronto when I was 36, and I was there like, oh, everybody's hugging everybody else. This is really uncomfortable for me. I literally, I was expecting the hugs like, and when people were like, I love you, and I'm like, oh my God, why are people saying I love you all the time? It was really interesting watching me have to change over. And when I actually started hugging people and started saying, I love you, what a massive difference it made to my whole world. It
yeah,
made
yeah.
me one of the club. It made me one of the community rather than someone who's standing outside it. And of course, love is the be all and end all, really. If you don't love yourself, that is really where it shows up in your life. Loving yourself is the most important thing.
Yeah, when I arrived in New Zealand to teach, And of course, I'm a hugger and I'm a smiler and I'm a I love you person.
Yeah.
People are like, oh, we're not going to applaud. We are not going to do that. We're not going to rant and we're not going to jump up on the stage. And then, of course, I ended up staying, I think, 12 out of 18 months. And by the time I left, people were crying and hugging, and there was such a joyous nature. So I think that's a very important, again, going back to words.
Yeah.
How many words in the course of your day can you pay attention to that were well said, that was fun, that was vibrant, that was, it made, and really think about it. I'm going to deliver a keynote speech. Are you trying to make shock value, which now has been shocking around the world? We keep creating shock value. So your dynamics around the words, give the information again for someone to reach you.
I'm at globalwelcome.com, GLOBAL welcome.com, and it's Dr. Yvonne Oswald. And you can phone me. You can phone my cell phone and I'll answer it. I'm very available. When I have my students, I always say, if you've got a client coming in, call me. If you're not sure what to do with them, I'll run you through. Just have a pen in your hand or your iPad and just write down. I'll tell you exactly what to do with them. So it's absolutely magic. Yeah, it makes a huge difference. I literally, if you want to meet friends with people, because they say, I don't like going into a big company of people, I don't like going to conventions. If you walk up to someone and just say, I love your hair, or I love your tie, or wow, that really makes you look good, you've got instant likability, and they'll accept you and start chatting with you. It's that people stand there and they're like, this, showing themselves to be different, and we need to go up to everybody in the street. In a mall, if I see a beautiful girl and she's taken time and she spent 3 hours doing her makeup and making herself look good, I'll go up and I'll say, you look beautiful, that really suits you, I really like that. And they'll just go, oh, thank you. And that's what we want that recognition, we want that praise, we want to be seen as someone who's really who belongs. It's the belonging thing that is really the big factor.
Yeah, so we're going beyond our perceptions and our belief systems and our filters. We also have things that come up in politics, Me Too movements and things where people are so confused right now about what is appropriate, what isn't appropriate.
Right.
But what you're saying is, if you're saying things that matter, that are kind, it will always be appropriate if it has the right intention. How much, real quick, is intention playing in the world right now and transformation?
Yeah, I mean, the intention is, Mother Teresa was invited to a war rally. She said, I won't go to a war rally. She said, I'll go to a peace rally. And she was very powerful. She would say, yes, I'll come and speak. How much are you paying me? Because I want this money for the children. I'm not just doing it for free. So, it's about having the intent about why you're doing what you're doing. What's the passion? What's the purpose behind it? And of course, if you can align yourself with the values that are most important, love, belonging, recognition, self-worth, self-love, what will happen is that you'll actually automatically bring in your soul group. I call them the soul group. When you go to a convention, just come home with 3 business cards, and make sure you put your face on your own, by the way, because people don't like to throw a face away. It's really important that you're searching for people who you can impact and they can impact you, because it's finding your bigger family, I guess, is where we're going with that.
It's so good. I was in India for the 149th celebration of Gandhi's life and his birth, and we were there on a peace mission, and it was intriguing to me that there was very few, even the largest, most politically astute and strongest in the world, it was hard to find resolutions. And the simplest of the conversations seemed to be the most powerful.
Yeah.
And as you said, whether you change yourself, you change the world. And it's not that we can't even imagine, how a butterfly can flap his wings, and yet it affects the Amazons. Yes. But we do know now that vibrationally, the words you speak travel at a distance different. It's like putting something into the internet. How did it go viral in moments and seconds? But it's everywhere in the world, and words are doing that, which is why every word has power, is so important. I think I don't know, do you have it in school systems?
I teach a lot in schools. I was actually in Yellowknife up in the Northwest Territories, teaching the teachers there. 3 or 4 of them came and actually took the NLP, and they just said it's made a magnificent difference to their teaching because they're seeing the children in the class differently. They're treating them differently. They're not just using their own system. They realize that someone who's not looking at you is auditory. They're not just being ignorant. And they were like, oh, so they're paying attention because they've got their ear there. It's very, because a lot of kids slip through the cracks because they're kinesthetic. They can't spell well because they're never taught to develop that visual recall pathway. It's very simple. I had a guy in the class, oh gosh, 6 months ago, and he said, I'm just going to listen, not take notes. And then 2 days in, he said, I can't read. And I said, wow. I said, that's interesting. I said, just let me have a little experiment here. And I literally held up the word success here, and he spelt it forwards and backwards and said it. And he burst into tears, and he said, I had no idea. And I said, when you read a book, I said, have a go at reading it here. And he read it perfectly. And he said, wow, nobody had bothered to develop his visual pathway. He just attempted to look down, and it didn't make sense to him because he was kinesthetic. So when he went to remember a word, he was looking down and right.
Right. So we're running up against the clock now, but and there's so much more. And let me encourage all of you that are viewing or listening in. Dr. Yvonne Oswald, the book is called Every Word Has Power. You'll find a dynamic interview together. My site is daniellelin.com. As you can see where I'm sitting, I'm trying to get out of the way of that. Danielle Lin, Lin. We have interviewed the brightest minds on the planet that are working to make transition. Without a doubt, as all of you wouldn't be listening if you didn't want something to do in the world that was better. So I want to thank you, Dr. Pranav. I know that you're going to take over here. It's been so exciting. You've created such a platform for all of us so that we can come together and have this conversation. And Dr. Yuan, you're light in the world. It's a very special time to spend with you. And I would encourage everyone to go to globalwelcome.com. Take a retreat. I told my listeners, I said, if 8 of you want to go with me to Niagara Falls, Ontario, and be with Dr. Yvonne, then you write me an email. And I'm expecting that 8 people will write us since we're all over the world. And you'll find us on a nation of networks of radio stations in America. But you'll find us at Danielle Lin, and we'll find the world working with Dr. Pranav. And I'm going to turn it over to you, Dr. Pranav, to take over.
I did not feel like coming in, Danielle. What happened was that bandwidth compatibility from different parts of the world poses challenge. So my sincere apologies to my listeners of daniellelin.com, and also the adherent followers of Dr. Yvonne. My apologies. Since last 45 minutes, we are pretty stable, and I did inform to the satellite communication company to keep us on, so they extended the time. Do not worry for overshooting the time. Your speeches, your rendering, your deliberations are like a melodious music. Danielle, you are on a full screen. Would you like to pass on any message to the viewers and network of NPAF if in case they want to hold an interview in your studio? Please.
Well, I'll just give, my information again, daniellelin.com. You can send me an email. It's on that site at daniellelin.com. And I think that the message today is that whether you're in the pharmaceutical industry, the nutraceutical industry, what we've done is become a bridge. And we need these bridges together from all worlds. It can't be one or the other. We need to live in a world of wellness. And when we look at the new medicines and the innovations, I would encourage, especially those listening from India, you have so many bright minds in the medical world. You have so many bright minds in technology and innovation. Use it for the good. Use it to create wellness paradigms and models where people can get excited about being healthy and teaching it, not addressing sickness and dis-ease. And so that's my biggest thing right now, is to say that we live in a world, if you know anything about Ayurveda, then you already know that science is a basis for life that has proof. And the Western mind is coming into understanding the Eastern mind. And Dr. Yvonne, you know that. And we talked about, the second we met, there was like this resonation of the right things to do. So, and Dr. Pranav, this is Herculean what you're doing. So when technology goes wobble, we need to just get over it and have and be excited that we could be in 80 countries today talking.
Yeah, last 45 minutes is fantastic. There is no interruption, no hiccup. Earlier, when we started, bandwidth poses certain challenges, but I got involved into, and Dr. Ivan started receiving a lot of compliments, and I cannot, this point in time, refrain to bring this Stefania parent who said on your Facebook that, Ivan, you look fantastic and beautiful, and so nice of Stefania. We are receiving lots of compliments all over the world, and again, we at NPAF Canada, we invite the bright minds to explore new horizons of science. There is no barrier of nationality, caste, creed, race. If you have the qualities and qualifications like Dr. Ivan brings to the table, like Daniel Lin brings to the table, we will be more than happy to allocate our resources for the live broadcasting. And the way to approach to us is go to the website www.npaf.ca, enroll yourself, or the faculty to whom you want to be the speaker, and when the right time is there, either me or Miss Daniel will be in touch with you. Feel free to contact to Daniel. She is a great voice. Feel free to contact to Dr. Ivan. She is a global traveler. Her publication is published in more than 11 languages, available on Amazon. That itself speaks in volume for the quality of expertise she brings to the table. Dr. Ivan, I have a question coming from India for you. And by the time I forget, today is a happy Remembrance Day to my all Indian friends. They are celebrating the Remembrance Day of 26th of January. We have 40% of the crowd from India. And the question is this, Dr. Ivan, that do you have any distributor at India?
Possibly not. I'm distributed by Simon & Schuster.
Mm-hmm.
So Simon & Schuster, I'm sure, are in India. I did find one of my books in India. However, I'm sure beyond words, or contact me at yvonne@globalwelcome.com. That's YVONNE @globalwelcome.com. And I will pass on the information to my publisher. I'd love to be out there in India.
Wonderful. A lot of questions are coming in. Probably you both will receive more questions from the viewers in days to come, and please feel free to get in touch with all of them. And if I can be of any help to you in organizing more programs like this, feel free to contact me, and we will be happy to organize similar programs in days to come.
Thank you,
That's great.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you, NPAF, for sponsoring.
Yeah, Daniel, any
Yeah.
message to you, to the NPF viewers?
I think, just as I said before, come back here. You're going to learn more than maybe you'd learn in a lot of places because of the diversity of conversation and the thought. And it's your role. It's not us. It's, we're here to share our message with you. My background is very much in the science of raw materials. That's what I'm kind of an expert in consulting. And why I did that is to realize that all the raw materials of life is what we're crafting every day.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter where we are, what we're doing, it's the raw materials, and words are raw materials. So I just say, speak wisely, as Dr. Yvonne has said, come from your heart, and know that every word that you speak, even when you're standing still and not saying a sound, will impact another life. So do it for, making a difference and a transformation. So again, thanks, Dr. Pranav, and thanks, Dr. Yvonne.
Thank you, Dr. Ivan and Daniel Lin, for making this show a great success. It's a path finder and a path breaker as well. It's going to touch the new horizons in days to come. And you put me at a lot of ease today. I struggled a bit in the initial phase of the transmission, but to manage the transmission, to manage the questionnaire is a daunting task, and you literally put me at ease. And as usual, Ivan is a prolific speaker. So this program is going to hit a grand TRP. and we are being viewed by many people across the globe. Please attend the compliments you are receiving on your social media, and we look forward to organize this kind of programs time and again. Thank you so much to both the faculties. Thanks.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Will.
Thanks for being here, everyone from around the world. We're sending you blessings.
Thank you.